Okay, so our first focus plant, this is chickweed. Chickweed grows along the edges of yards and mowed areas. It might grow along the edges of woods. You can see it's growing here at just along the edge of the house. It's mostly, you'll find it in parks, things like that. It likes to be places where it's pretty disturbed. And in terms of identifying it, it has little tiny, you can see how small they are compared to my fingers, these little tiny sort of arrow-shaped leaves, and they always occur opposite of each other. So there's two leaves opposite two other leaves, and then opposite two more right in the very center, if you can see that. So it's got these tiny opposite leaves, and it grows in trailing mats. You can see here how it's trailing along, right? And these mats will get pretty big. They can cover several square feet sometimes later in the year, but right now they're not nearly that big. Also, it'll flower. It's one of the few things that flowers this early, and the flower is this little tiny, again, my hand for scale. It's this little tiny white flower with lots of petals on it. So if you take a look at that, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 petals. So there's your ID. The harvesting of it, it's a green, so you're gonna just kind of pick off the top of the mat. You want to try to avoid things like because it is a matting vegetation, so little dead pieces of grass and leaves will get stuck in there, so you have to pick those out or pick around them. But you just pick it and you use it like a salad green, or I like it on sandwiches. So any place you would use other fresh spring greens, you can use these. The leaves and the flowers are edible, and the little stems, so you don't need to pick the leaves off the stems. But you just mix it in with your other fresh greens and use it the same way you would all of those other fresh greens. In terms of storing it or preserving it, I don't really store it or preserve it because it's a fresh green. So you eat it in season, and then when it's not in season, that's it, it's done. And in terms of season, it actually is in season now. It's one of the first things that comes out in the spring. And by May or so, it'll be gone, and it won't come back again until late in the fall. So this is definitely an early spring green. Again, chickweed. And that's our first focus plant this year.